And so formally welcome everyone to our weekly call. Hope you've all had a great weekend. It was a bit of a surprise, certainly for me this morning, waking up to find snow outside, which wasn't expected, but I made a sort of post-Christmas reappearance, but there you are, which is still winter, very definitely. Okay, let me share my screen. And you'll see, you should see the slides on the screen. So our agenda,
and not you as a company or
our agenda for this week is we'll kick off starting in a moment, talking about the DNS for EU project. And I'm delighted to say that Robert Šefr from Whalebone, in fact, the CTO of Whalebone, is kindly joined us. So you will hear directly from the sort of lead company in the winning consortium, as announced just before Christmas. And no doubt Robert will mention, I think they're claiming the record for the fastest negotiation of a grant award with the European Commission of 2 weeks, which I don't know for a fact that that's the fastest, but it feels quite likely that it is. It would be tough one to beat. So we'll talk about that first, and then we'll, as always, go on to some recent developments, and I'll call out a couple of things in particular from the ADD working group. Amongst others that we can sort of touch on, as well as some forthcoming events, and just signpost some future topics, and time permitting, any other business that anyone wishes to raise. So let me stop sharing my screen for now. So welcome, Robert, onto the call. Thanks for joining us. Sort of hot on the heels of what I think was a very successful press conference last Tuesday, which seemed to be very well attended. So as you're seeing, we've got a bunch of people on the call, and we'll have a bunch of others who will listen to the recording. And I thought it would be useful for sort of Robert to come onto the call, not least of which a few people have reached out to me asking a few questions about participation in the consortium and so on. So I figured it would be helpful to hear from Robert, and then have a discussion and Q&A, and see where that discussion takes us. So Robert, I don't know if you wanted to open up just by sort of giving a few words of introduction. If you're very welcome to do so.
Okay, I will. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you for inviting us. Hello, everyone. I believe I can provide a few words at the very beginning regarding the DNS for EU and our vision, how we would like to build it, and what will be the very specifics of the project. So first of all, especially for those that weren't able to attend to the press conference, I believe what is very interesting about our plan is the architecture, as we will put a lot less pressure and a lot less focus on the actual cloud resolvers, on the public resolvers. We will rather put more effort and more or we expect to process a lot more traffic on the actual on-premise resolvers running in the telco and ISP networks across Europe. So this is a very important part from our side. We will provide things like central management options, reporting, monitoring, central configuration. We will be responsible for providing the proper the security filtering options, and we will be doing we will be maintaining the threat intelligence and distributing the threat intelligence to all the instances, and will also be responsible for unification of the behavior of all the instances towards the end clients. Of course, I believe it will be raised here because it is raised everywhere wherever DNS for EU is mentioned. I mean the word censorship, yeah, which I completely disagree with, yeah, but we can also tackle this part because part of the DNS for EU requirement is to provide the ability to the internet service providers and the telco operators using DNS for EU to be compliant with the national legislation, which in my eyes it doesn't mean censorship across EU. It is definitely some sort of lawful interception, and we will provide the options how to be compliant for the ISPs. For the telco operators. However, for the private users that will just set up the public resolvers for the DNS resolution, it seems that we are not obliged, we are not pushed, and we are doing some final legal checks. We are not pushed to impose any lawful filtering on those. So we will just, but it's an important part, we will provide the security protection for those, and most probably also offer an option for a pure DNS resolution without any filtering whatsoever. So that's a very introduction. I may continue maybe with some more in-depth information. Although we don't go into the very details at the moment, we plan to provide more information to the technical audience Q2 in the Q2. But please feel free to shoot any questions towards me. I'll be happy for any discussion here. If there will be no questions, I may continue with some more detailed plan about the security layers and about the user protection.
Perfect. Well, that's a really good and helpful introduction. So thank you for that, Robert. And I should say, anyone that wants to ask questions, follow the fine examples of Peter Andreas and raise your virtual hand using the Zoom tool, which is under the reactions menu if you're not a frequent user of Zoom, or indeed use the chat and drop a question into chat if that's easier for you, and I will happily read those out. I'll maybe kick off with a couple of questions just to get people's thoughts flowing. So I'll ask one which I asked on the press conference. It'd be a nice easy one, Robert, which is for any sort of organisations such as ISPs and others that want to participate in the project, what's the best way of them doing that, either from a sort of technical point of view in terms of accessing the service, or indeed is there an option to sort of join the consortium and participate at that level?
Okay, I mean, about joining the consortium at this point, we haven't discussed such an option, yeah, for this very moment. The whole consortium like goes forward as it was established when defining the project, so we don't feel we lack any expertise at the very moment. But for those ISPs and telcos that would like to get an early access, we are gathering the requests for anyone like to be eager to get more information or to get an option to have one of the first deployments in their network, in their lab, possibly, etc. Feel free to shoot an email directly towards me or towards the email address, and the special email address we have set up for this purpose is the dns4eu@whalebone.io. It will definitely take some time. It won't be immediately. So we are in a very early phase. Yeah, the project started at the 1st of January. So, but I'm very confident that during this year we will already be distributing the first early access options to the for the short list of those who would really appreciate that.
Thank you for that. And then second question, which would be remiss of me not to ask, in terms of privacy policy, will the DNS for EU be compliant with the European Resolver policy?
Yes, I mean we are following that, yeah, and we are preparing the. I mean we are following that, and I'm. Okay, how to answer? Because I'll start from the very beginning. The DNS for EU, what we plan to do, we already have an established product that we will use, and we will create basically a new instance for the DNS for EU that will be completely separated from the other products. There will be no overlap. There will be no data transfers between our other backends. There will be no data transfers between our other resolvers, so it will be completely isolated. And what is part of the project, we will be going through the standards, we will be going through the privacy requirements, and we will be going through the privacy, let's say, nice to have or visionary features that we would like to implement. We'll involve our board of advisors into this, and we will prepare a document for the privacy that will answer these questions. I cannot answer at this very moment if the European resolver guideline will be like fully implemented, but it will be fully taken into account, and we will definitely respond to how we decided to go forward. So that's the plan. I really don't simply have the answers at the very moment.
Okay, thank you. And to be fair, as you quite rightly observed, yeah, given how recent the announcement was, I think you can be forgiven for not having all the fine technical details at this stage, Robert. So hopefully other questions will bear that in mind. Okay, so I'll take these in turn. So I can see Peter, Andreas, and Arno each have raised their hand. So let's go through each of those and then see if other questions are prompted as a result. So Peter, firstly, over to you.
Thanks. First of all, Robert, congratulations. I think it's amazing that you got this tender, or whatever the word is, that for the contract. So I was curious about one thing in particular. I see that you're going to be doing it via an on-premise device, because that's Whalebone's sort of main product, right?
Yes.
So how will that work in terms of offering this to everybody in the EU? Like, you're going to distribute devices to all the ISPs, or? I
mean, we definitely want to have as many on-premise deployments as possible. Looking at numbers, yeah, the larger telcos, they definitely provide internet connections to majority of citizens. So I mean, larger telcos are the key. Speaking of volumes, yeah, so we will definitely speak to them. Small and medium ISPs, they still may provide quite significant numbers, and we are also speaking to them. We'll do it as well, but the long-term priority will be the large telcos. On the cloud resolver, on the public resolver, we also expect to onboard some numbers. But I mean, if you look at the numbers of I don't know, Google Cloudflare, Quad9, I mean, they are really successful, but still reaching the goal that we put to ourselves, like providing the internet connectivity to 100 million citizens. I mean, basically, it cannot be done without cooperating with the large telcos. Does it provide the answer?
Yeah, sorry, I think I maybe missed the thing about the cloud service as well. I thought it was, yeah, okay.
No, it's not solely on premise. Yeah, there will be a public cloud resolver, but it's not the primary challenge, I would say, or it's not the primary thing of the DNS for EU where we see the main differentiator.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, Peter. Andreas is next, so do you want to unmute Andreas?
I'm not sure if I should say congrats to win the tender because I never run a project with the EU, so not sure how much fun it is, but I know how much fun it is to fill the subscription. So hopefully it's more fun to run the project later on. So all the best at least. And my questions are both going into in a similar direction of Peter, because I'm also interested more in the details of how you want to work together with the ISPs, especially if you would tend to provide a piece of software that you ask then the ISPs to deploy on premise, or if you want to back up on existing DNS infrastructure in the ISPs. And the second question, from your press conference, you talked about also offering premium services, which you would then obviously use to gain some profits from. But how would you then tend to share the revenue with the ISPs? Because I'm pretty sure the ISPs would not let you collect money from service they run for you without giving them a share of it, right? So what is your business model then for such a case?
Understood. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the question regarding the congratulations. I believe I'm the very same fan of the paperwork for government and EU as any of you. Yeah. So I'm not finding the joy in that part, but I'm finding the joy in the actual technological challenge.
Definitely more fun. Definitely.
Yeah. And regarding the value, I believe that I'll start with the value. Yeah, it's a crucial part of how we see it, because at the moment, Whalebone actually for some of the products, the value is actually mainly on the B2B level. Yeah, so what we provide and what we will provide to the ISPs and the operators are DNS resolvers with added value on top of that, with troubleshooting options, automation, speaking of monitoring, automation, speaking of the compliance with the national legislation, also the central configuration, the API connectors to the rest of their infrastructure, at long-term long-term threat storage, anomaly detection, etc., etc. So this is something where we see the value and where our customers, the Whalebone customers, meaning see the value. Plus, and this is let's say the technical part of the point of view where the network team usually sees the value and are happy to deploy the resolvers in their network. On the other hand, we can also look into the security part. We will focus on the threats across Europe and on the very, let's say, national level threats. Yeah, the EU targeted malware campaigns, phishing campaigns, or even the specific country targeted phishing campaigns and malware campaigns, and dealing directly with the local authorities or with the institutions and the companies that are being targeted with or their customers being targeted with the attacks. We will provide, I'm sure of that, we will provide a significant value to the users as well, as they will be protected to major extent against these types of attacks. So it will be a value provided to the end customers of those ISPs and telcos that will be able to offer and deliver this value to their customers. So these are the two levels. Basically, we will be explaining to the telcos and to the teams that it's a good idea actually to run the DNS for EU and to provide this to their customers. So it's actually quite the opposite. Yeah, we don't expect to charge here the end customers or the majority of the revenues. We don't expect those to be from the end customers, speaking of the end users, but more like the network operators. That's the value, and those are the revenues that we expect. Does it make sense?
Yes, but from the press conference, it did sound more like you're selling premium services to the end customers. That's why I was a bit concerned.
Yeah, that may be the part, but I believe it's a subset. Yeah, I believe that the much stronger value that we will provide is actually to the network operator and to the telcos. Yeah, and I'm sorry now, I forgot the first part of the of the question. Can you please repeat?
Yeah, the first part of the question was on how you tend to provide the DNS for EU to the telcos. I think I understood that you will deliver some software to the ISPs that they can then deploy in their networks, right?
Exactly. So we will distribute software. We will distribute software, and we will provide the support to it, and we will basically don't force them where to deploy the software. Should it be a virtual infrastructure? Should it be physical machines? We also have experience with like heavily distributed, very small machines across large networks. So it could be either centralized, or it could be, speaking also of 5G, it could be edge services running on in multiple data centers, etc.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andreas. Arno is the next to have his hand raised. So Arno, do you want to come on?
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Yeah, hi, Robert. So again, yeah, I'm not sure if this is a curse or a or a victory on the paperwork, but good luck anyway. Yeah, so I have two questions. One is regarding your comment on censorship and lawful intercept, because I didn't follow this whole track, but my assumption is that there is no way to avoid lawful intercept in countries. These are laws by country, so I don't see how people can just try to avoid that. But maybe you would like to understand better the comment on. I don't understand the link with the censorship here. That's the first thing. And the second question is regarding the security piece, because if you want to analyze campaigns and find campaigns, are you envisioning to partner with editors on security in one direction or the other, by the way?
Sorry, to partner, can you please repeat?
With security vendors?
Okay, understood. Yeah. Okay, I'll start with the lawful interception part. So basically, the very important part is that the European Commission expects that the DNS for EU will follow the national legislation. Usually, or as far as my awareness reaches, this lawful interception is imposed on the internet service providers. Yeah, so it may be the small ones, it may be the bigger ones. In some countries, it's actually only the bigger ones. Yeah, it's a bit different country per country, but it's never, again, as far as I know, it's never the DNS service providers, although there may be some cases where someone would like to enforce some DNS providers to do some filtering for them. Yeah, speaking of Code 9 case in Germany, etc. I know about this, but the legislation usually imposes this on internet service providers. So how we see it, we have to provide, and we will provide the options to the internet service providers, how they can be compliant. In speaking of the user interface, basically how you can imagine that you are like being an internet service provider in, I don't know, Germany, Austria, you will open the user interface and you just choose, I want to be compliant with Austrian legislation, and we will automatically apply the proper lists to be blocked, which will be up to date with the current requirements from the government. So this will be the only action that will. Sorry,
Robert. Yes, sorry to interject here, but normally in lawful intercept there is no concept of blocking. What people are trying to do is collect evidence. It's not about blocking. What the typical use case is, we suspect this person to be a terrorist or a pedophile, and we have a judge that has its ideas about that, so he issues a warrant that goes to an LEMF in the country, which is a body at national level that will receive this order from the lawyer. And then they will implement the warrants that we then diffuse across all the ISPs to say any information and communication of this person collected. So either real time or historical data. But there is no concept of blocking or changing the facts. On the contrary, it's a passive intercept, if you wish. I want to intercept, but you invisibly. So first of all, going to be interesting how you implement in a way that you have no idea that there is an interception that is going on, because that would be forbidden. And on the other way, this is just a matter of normally this is the anti-abuse team of an operator that will receive the LEMF order automatically. They will not even have to look at that. They are under extremely specific scrutiny and conditions, and then they will implement that to all their systems. Email, whatever. And this will collect data, and it should be done in a way that you cannot trace that, because nobody should know that person X is under interception. So I don't see what is the link between censorship here.
Understood. Yeah, I mean the only thing that we are dealing at the moment now, and where we are putting ourselves in, like, exploring the space are the national blacklists, let's say, for the ISPs, where we will provide an automation for them how to put the restrictions for their customers which are required by the law in their country. We are not asked, and we don't pursue the lawful interception to provide information about any of the customers in the service, provide an automated automated or manual way how to gather information about particular persons. This is not what we are preparing.
Okay, so I still confused why some people could, because even the block list, for example, block list or deny list have nothing to do with lawful intercept. Okay, they can be due for other reasons, but this has nothing to do with lawful intercept. Yeah, understood. So I even see Thomas Morgan making a good point actually in the chat. I don't really see. I mean, frankly speaking, I think you should investigate a bit better what is the difference between lawful intercept versus some reason to filter that could be business-wide. I don't know, maybe the ISP wants to deliver a service to its customers and wants to make sure that these customers are not able to access certain sites that contain malware. That would be an interesting thing to do, but that's a completely different story. And some others, for example, in the UK, it's not a law, but it's highly encouraged to filter. And I know this is not, the UK is not in the EU anymore, but anyway, you might have some countries that want to apply some parental control through ISPs, like the UK is doing. I'm not sure about it. But here, yes, you would have some filtering, and these could be debated if they are breaking some, this is censorship or not. But apart from that, I do not see the link between lawful interception and censorship.
Okay, well, it's a mix up basically of the terms. Yeah, so just to, I mean, I agree. We are frequently challenged by the censorship term. Like we will be imposing censorship on EU, which is we don't agree. I mean, we will be just supporting the local ISPs in the compliance with the local blacklists. Yeah, that's it. Speaking of the lawful interception and providing access to law enforcement, this is not something we are discussing or preparing.
So it sounds like you're in agreement with each other, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. And as Arno said, Thomas, whilst we've been chatting, has sort of posted on in the chat, I think to the same effect that it's things like lawful intercept are probably more easily dealt with by the ISPs directly, and hopefully that'll be an area that Whalebone and consortium members won't be drawn into, Robert, because you've probably got sufficient things to worry about just now without taking on additional challenges at the moment.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I mean the architecture, and the anonymization that we prepared at the levels there, they wouldn't even like allow this. Yeah. So this is this is something that we definitely don't envision for the service. Can I switch? Sorry. Yeah.
So there's just a follow-up question, or not a different question in the chat, which just to change the topic slightly. This is, I think, in relation to sort of content filtering, etc. Peter has asked how you deal with false positives, and will end users be able to report false positives themselves? So that whole content blocking, and if somebody believes that something's been wrongly categorized, will there be a mechanism that the consortium operates to deal with that?
Which was my second question, by the way. How are you collaborating with vendors on security? Because I think you will need help.
Yeah, I remember. I'll get to both. So first of all, Whalebone at the moment cooperates with multiple security vendors. Yeah, and we are continuously testing and evaluating new sources of threat intelligence and indicators of compromise. Which for the DNS security, it's a bit specific. Yeah, so even the bigger names in threat intelligence, they not in all cases provide sufficient or very useful data. Yeah, so we are working hard on extending our threat intelligence continuously, or replacing if we see the quality of our sources has somehow diminished or changed. So this is a long-term thing Whalebone is doing and will be also doing for DNS for EU. Besides that, we have our own research, and our own research focuses on two parts. Yeah, on false positives and also on true positives, definitely. So in the false positive scope, we are automating our efforts on how to identify that some of the IOCs, the indicators of compromise that we have introduced to the system, are causing a possible false positive, and mitigating it as fast as possible. And we try not to rely on the user feedback, although we have the options how to ask for the user feedback. But I mean, the user feedback is, we consider it last resort, basically. Okay, it is an option, but usually where we somehow rely on the user feedback are some very localized specific services or websites that lately had some issues or were somehow linked to phishing or malware campaigns. Yeah, this is what we see. Let me give you an example. A local fitness center in a small town, hosted on WordPress, recently was hacked and used to distribute some ransomware body. and they may already be clean, but our engines still consider them to be malicious. So in these cases, it will be a very limited amount of accesses where our engine may decide, okay, this still may be malicious, and in that case, the user reporting may prove very useful, because for the automated engines, it will be hard to get them. How we do it? Multiple ways. Usually this goes through the ISP or through the telco directly to us. It may also be provided, the option to report a false positive may be provided on the blocking page. But as you can imagine, the blocking page reachability may be questionable. Speaking of HTTPS, it may not be like visible to everyone. It depends. In some cases, it works. So these are the two most favorite and established channels that we have. So the blocking page, the cooperation with the ISP and telco. And speaking of the public resolver for the DNS for EU, I expect we will have a possibility for submission for false negatives directly on the service, on the website, for the users to be able to reach us directly. We don't do this at the moment because we don't have a direct service to the customers. It's always via an internet service provider or telco, so it will be a bit new for us. This particular approach. And for the security, please keep your questions. I'll try to get to them. There's one important thing I believe that we will be doing, and that's really getting to each of the countries, the member states of EU, and dealing with the local authorities, the CSIRTs, the CERTs, and get directly to the local institutions that are frequently targeted, or their customers or their clients are frequently targeted with phishing and malware, usually the financial institutions, banks, parcel delivery services. We see parcel delivery services like across Europe, their brands to be misused very frequently. And to ask them and to establish channels, we have already done in some countries, establish automated channels, provide information about the campaigns against their clients, and to get this information to the DNS for EU as soon as possible, basically almost real time or near real time, to be able to distribute the indicator of compromise, all the resolvers, and we have the technology to achieve this in a few seconds. So as soon as the campaign emerges, our experience is that the companies, they are aware very early on. So the bank and their security operation team, usually they know in a matter of minutes that there is a phishing campaign going against this bank, but they have limited options how to stop it. They may try the domain takedown, they may try distributing the information to Google Safe Browsing API, etc. But we will provide also the option to get it to DNS for EU and block the attack on the ISP and telco level immediately in their country.
So syndicating that whole sort of messaging sort of across a much wider audience much more quickly will be a real upside, Robert, by the sound of it, from the deployment.
I hope so.
Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, perfect. I can see. I think we have time for one last question.
Shall I ask myself?
Yeah, why don't you ask yourself, Peter, to say we're trying to reinterpret it? Yes.
Yeah, sorry. So since this is going to be a project for the public benefit for the citizens of the EU, will the threat intelligence that you get be public or shared or open somehow?
Well, I would like to, I would like to rephrase a bit that the service is for public benefit. I mean, the service is like supported by EU, but it's expected to run commercially to be sustainable long term. Just to be clear on this. So Basically, we are putting our own money, we are putting our own time and effort into this, and we have to plan it in a way that is commercially successful. Otherwise this will not work. Yeah. So this is the first part. So regarding the public benefit, definitely what will be available are is the ability to use the DNS for EU, and we will make our best to actually to provide the unmatched or like very specific security protection to the users. Regarding the threat intelligence, if it will be open or somehow open, we haven't discussed this yet. Yeah, so this is actually even the decision that definitely I cannot do myself, because this is something to be discussed with all the consortium members. And for the threat intelligence part, there are a number of them and that will be involved. So they will be doing different kind of research on the threat intelligence. And I believe some of them will publish the results and it will be their decision. Some of them may keep it for their commercial purposes, and it's their right. Yeah. So there is no general agreement on how we will proceed. We may disclose some. We may disclose some data for research purposes to other organizations, and someone may just disclose the data because they feel it's the best way to do. But I cannot really tell for anyone in the consortium.
Thanks, Robert. Full disclosure, I work for DNS Filter, and I deal a lot with DNS-based threat intelligence. So just
clear. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we have definitely like much in common, speaking of the threat intelligence. Yeah. So I mean, I don't think there is a blocker even to speak about the option to exchange some of the data or to get access to some of the data. Yeah, I mean, it can be discussed. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you an email.
Cool.
Actually,
Brilliant.
if you could put your email in the chat, that would be great.
Okay, well, on that line, let's pause there. So, Robert, thank you for that. That's really helpful. As you rightly said, it's very early days in the lifetime of this project. So perhaps we can leave an open invitation to come back in a few months' time. And then you can give an update and some additional details that may well be available as discussions with the other consortium members and other interested parties evolve. I think that'd be really useful if you're able.
Thank you for the discussion. Thank you for the invitation. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Right, change of pace from that. Hopefully that was useful to everyone. So I just go back to share my slides for a moment, and I'll pick up on one of the things also that Michael referenced in the chat in a moment. So a quick update on some recent developments. A couple of things on the AGD mailing list over the weekend, which I thought would be useful to flag whilst we're talking. There's a working group last call for a split DNS, basically, which is the first item. So which runs through to the 26th January. So another 10 days for that to run. And then secondly, there's a call for adoption of a DNS resolver information paper, which you may recall, I think Glenn and/or Dave talked about or just question whether the working group had an interest in sort of addressing that part of the working group charter, so that the resolve information paper it potentially addresses that. Remember, this is a call for adoption rather than for it's not a last call. So this is just taking the topic on and whether the draft in question is a sufficient basis to sort of kick that off as a formal document for the working group. And again, 2 weeks to run through to the 26th of January. So if you have views on either or both of those, You can put them on the ADD mailing list. I'll share the links afterwards so you have those to hand. And then briefly, just one other item which came up in the last few days. WhatsApp have announced an option this is to sidestep or overcome sort of state-sponsored internet outages by or blocking attempts by providing a decentralized proxy capability for WhatsApp, where pretty much anyone can set up a proxy. I thought it was worth mentioning because when you look at the sort of the detail, anyone that operates the proxy, although the actual content of messages is covered by end-to-end encryption, so they're not compromised, you do potentially see the IP addresses of the people that use the proxy, which seemed to me to be an opportunity for the states that wishing to block access to WhatsApp. If they were smart, they would run their own proxies and use that to identify who's trying to use the block service. So that seems to have some issues associated with it. But if anyone's got any thoughts on that, you can sort of jump on, time permitting, at the end, or put comments in the chat. But I think that's something which is worthy of further examination. Then more generally in the news, we just talked about the DNS for EU announcement, so I'll skip over that. Second one, which Michael referenced in the chat earlier, there's confirmation, I think last week, that Cloudflare has won a contract with the sort of US Cyber Intelligence Agency to run a protected DNS service. So I thought that was certainly worth highlighting. I can't remember if Michael asked a question in the chat or just highlighting the fact that it had happened. I'm just scrolling back to that. No, he's put a link to Bloomberg for the same story, so you can scroll back in the chat if you're interested in a second source to the dark reading article. And by chance, Joe Xavier of Domain Tools published a blog post, and I think it is by chance, on their protective DNS services. So I thought that was useful to just reference that as well. So which sort of talks about a number of different service operators, as well as some of the basic concepts. And just see if I skip over those. I think there was a couple of other things. Oh yes, and then there was a couple of interesting articles on the NIS2 directive. One blog post from Infoblox, and then secondly an update from Echo as well. So that's topical at the moment. So I thought that would be of interest to highlight. I think in the interest of time, I'll stop there, but you should have these links already in your inbox if you get the weekly headlines, and I'll put them in the sort of post with the link to this recording as well, so you have a second chance to see those. In terms of forthcoming events, as we've discussed on the call last week, plenty of things coming up through the start of the year. FOSDEM in a couple of weeks' time, NANOG and OARC shortly after that, and then in quick succession we're into IETF, etc., etc. So plenty of things coming up. A reminder that the OARC early bird registration closes in just over a week's time, so do bear that in mind. The other thing I mentioned also for IETF 116 in Yokohama, if you've got any thoughts on birds of a feather sessions, those need to be in by the 27th of January, so towards the end of this month. Again, you've got a week or so to lodge those, at least initial proposals into the IETF. Oh, sorry, I missed one other one which I meant to mention, which is which I think added to the list. Oh yes, which as Andreas is on the call, in mid-June, Andreas's DDI user group has its next session. taking place. I'm not sure where that is yet, Andreas, possibly in Munich or somewhere like that, but
yeah, thanks for suggestion, the opportunity to share this here. So yeah, we are planning a hybrid event. So it will be a Zoom session and probably somewhere in Baden-Württemberg, so in the Stuttgart area, we are planning to have people that are allowed to travel to join us in person.
Perfect. So any questions on that, direct those to Andreas. Maybe pop an email address or something in the chat, Andreas, for anyone that wishes to know more, that's not already on the waiting list.
If you like, you can just add this link to complete your lists of links and events. So you can just add this over there.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thanks for that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And then next week on this call, we'll be talking about Rule 53. Peter will give his updated thoughts on the ever more creative uses of the DNS, which I'm sure will throw up some fascinating examples as always. Following week, we're going to talk about zero DNS and towards zero trust using the DNS. And so on. So a few things coming up over the next few weeks. And I think that was pretty much everything from me. So let me stop sharing and just pause and say, does anyone else have anything else that you would like to raise? And if so, do put it in the chat or sort of raise your virtual hand and come on and mention it. You'll be most welcome. And whilst you're thinking, I can see that Robert has put some additional comments on lawful intercept as opposed to lawful filtering. So yeah, I think perhaps talking at cross purposes or getting sort of terms slightly mixed up, which caused a little bit of confusion, which is perfectly understandable. So anything that anyone else wants to mention, get a chance to do so if you so wish. I'm not seeing any hands raised currently, and I'm not seeing anything in the chat. In which case, let's close the call there. Robert, thank you again for coming on talking about the DNS4 EU project. That was most interesting, and hopefully will lead to some follow-up discussions or offline from this call. So hopefully people found that beneficial. So thank you for your time. And thank you to everyone for joining the call. Hope you have a fantastic week, and look forward to catching up again same time next week when we can hear from Peter on other uses of the DNS. So have a great week, everyone. Speak to you next Monday. Thanks all. Bye.
Looking forward to it. Thank you. Bye-bye.